Welcome to episode 18 with Dustin Nahale, who is a professional bodybuilder and coach. And thank you for joining us today, Dustin.
Hey, not a problem. Thank you for having me, brother. It's my pleasure.
Definitely. So I'll jump right in, starting with a little bit about you. Taking it way back, where did it all begin for you? Are you from Florida, Sarasota?
No, I'm originally from California, Bay Area, California. I was actually born in Mayagüez, Puerto Rico. I'm half Puerto Rican and I'm Hawaiian and Filipino. Raised on my Hawaiian Filipino side over in Fremont, California for the majority of my life. Yeah.
Very nice. That's a cool
Yeah.
mix.
Yeah. All Islander, I guess.
All
Not bad.
different good food, though, too.
Yeah, you ain't lying. Yeah. The majority of, like the islanders and stuff like that, aside from the Filipinos, are all a little big, you know what I mean? They're not necessarily doing the fitness, I guess you should say, but I guess we stray away from the norm.
That's all right, though. But so what brought you to Florida? You grew up in Cali and then you came to
Yep.
Florida recently?
Yeah, so I came to Florida in 2019. That's when, I came here because of, my current wife, Marie. She's the, backbone of our family. She holds everything together. But yeah, so she's born and raised over here in Sarasota, Florida. And, I was doing some military contracting when we first started getting together. And then we ended up getting pregnant. And then by doing that, I didn't want to move her out to San Diego, where I was currently living at that time, because I didn't want to take her away from her support group. Especially since the fact that I was again, military contractor and I was always deployed in different countries. So if I'm away, I would rather her be here with her support system. So instead of moving her out there, I moved over here.
That makes sense. And that was very nice of you to, be thinking of the big picture, putting her first.
Absolutely. Things change when, there's a baby on the way, you know what I mean? That's a lot to digest, but you make things happen when those things start happening. So it's
Absolutely.
cool.
Good, good. And I'm curious to ask, what branch of the military were you?
I'm a Marine, so prior Marine, and then when I was doing military contracting, you're just a civilian at that point, but I did that for about 6 years.
Very nice. Got a lot of good friends in the military, and I don't want to say I regret, but if I could go back, I would have done military first before anything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it was definitely a decent experience. A lot of good memories, some bad ones, a lot of bad ones too, but all in all, I think we learn a lot from it, and there's a lot of things to take away from it. So
absolutely.
absolutely,
Made you who you are.
for sure.
So, what would you say is the most powerful experience along your journey that reshaped your belief in what you could achieve? So, something that really made you realize I could do anything.
Man, I have always been instilled in me from a child. My mom always told me that you're special, you're gonna do great things. She always had that kind of words of affirmation when I was growing up. So I always believed greater than what I was. So that's one aspect of it. Shout out to you, mom. Love you very much. But other than that, I've always propelled forward. I've always noticed that there was certain things about me that was, whether or not whatever I was doing, I was always like top one or two in the class, whether it was education, whether it was sports and stuff like that. But while I was in the Marine Corps or getting out of the Marine Corps, I got injured. I ended up having surgery on my foot. That was my first surgery, my first break. I had to get bone fusions. So technically at this point, I've had two surgeries on my foot. And right now I have a plate, four screws, a bone graft, two bone fusions within my foot. So there's a lot of immobility there. I was told that I would never be able to walk normal again. I was told that I'd never be able to run. I told that I would never be able to just have a normal life. I said, "F that, I don't believe you." And I kept moving forward. I kept my faith in God and I kept moving forward. And so from there, that's when I did my first bodybuilding competition was after that. And yeah, from that moment on, I learned a lot outside of the military into a bodybuilding structured kind of a prep. And I learned a lot about myself, self-development and what I was actually made of and being able to push past some certain pains that I have in my foot, which I still have to this day, but that carried on to where I'm at now in terms of that. So that was probably like the greatest thing that I've ever had to do was to really get over that injury and understand that I am capable of more and take control of what I could take control of and continue to move forward and not look in the past.
That's a great answer. There was a lot to unpack there, but very inspirational. With I can imagine transitioning from the military to civilian life was a challenge in itself, especially with the
Absolutely.
injury. So, man, no, much respect for you.
Yeah, yeah, appreciate it.
What do you think is your fundamental why that drives you? Your that force that keeps you going because obviously you have a relentless mentality.
Absolutely. So I would say at this point, currently, and I think going forward for the rest of my life is my family, my kids. So they are my why. I want them to see that I can be resilient through the hard things and to not quit, and even when things get tough. So I always look back on them, even when I'm in those hard, dark places, and I'm like, man, how am I going to get out of this? I look back on them and I just remember, okay, I need to be that leader for this family. I need to show them that you are capable, even when you are in these dark places, and you can find your way out. But again, it's all about continuing forward,
Very
finding that way
nice.
forward.
Very nice. You see the big picture and you remember it's about your family and wanting to lead them and be the best man that you can be for them.
Absolutely.
Amazing. That's amazing. If it's kind of a fun question, but since you have shared a little bit about your journey, if your journey was turned into a movie, up to this point, you've accomplished so much already. What would the title be, would you say? If you had to name it,
I was thinking about that, and honestly, you said the word already. It would be probably called relentless.
Relentless.
Relentless, absolutely. No matter what, you got to continue to push forward. You got people watching, and especially I got young little girls watching their dad, and I have to be that strength, that lion on Pride Rock. And so I have to be that superhuman for them. So if I could name my movie up to this point, yeah, it would probably be called Relentless for sure.
Relentless. I would definitely watch that movie. Man, I can tell you've got a lot of stories, don't you?
Yeah, yeah, I definitely do got a lot of stories for sure.
Man. Well, last question in that section, and apologize for having paper on me. I just transitioned into a document. I used to have it on my phone, so I'm kind of getting used to the new
Yeah.
phone. But if someone feels stuck and isn't happy with their current situation or circumstance, what is some advice that you would be compelled to share?
Okay, so in my experience with being stuck in a certain situation and not understanding where to get out, I have to do what I always try to tell people, which is go back to the basics, right? And what that essentially means to me is really sit down with myself, take accountability for where I'm at, understand and accept where I'm at right now, figure out what I can control, and start to stack little wins, right? And so my little wins would necessarily be like, okay, I wake up as soon as the alarm goes off. I'm not going to hit snooze. Cool. That's the first one. The following day, I wake up when the alarm goes off. I don't hit snooze. Now I make my bed, right? The following day, I wake up when the alarm goes off. I make my bed. I make sure that, I shave or something. There's these little things that you're consistently going to do every day that you can control. You're not going to be able to control the current situation that you're in. You can only control what you can do from this day forward. So back to the basics, accept where you're at, find the things that you can control, stack these little wins, and continue to move forward.
That is great advice. All of that. You literally took the most practical advice and put it together, but you simplified it in such a way where that consistency. I like that. And the little wins to keep you
Consistency.
going.
Consistency is king. And if you can continue to stack those little wins, I promise you it'll go far. It'll go far. Builds a lot of confidence, that self-confidence that you are currently in that situation lacking.
I like that. And that reminds me, I wanted to mention earlier for bodybuilding. I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but I wanted to say I never gained such an appreciation for the sport until I saw my girlfriend Emma, and then you all competing. That is the hardest sport out there
It
because
is.
it
It
doesn't
is.
stop 24/7 for like 6, 7 months. Crazy, man. The level of discipline
Yeah.
like with obstacle course racing or strongman competition, you generally eat what you want. You train, and then you do the competition. It's over. You get some ice cream or something. But like, man, with bodybuilding, it's just you have to be relentless.
Yes, yes, yes. It's nonstop, nonstop consistency for as long as you can be consistent. And if you're not being consistent, I promise the person that's going to be standing next to you on that stage has that consistency. So, what are you willing to do for that?
I gained a lot of respect for the sport. That's a challenging sport for sure.
Absolutely.
Man, what if you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, let's say maybe 10 years back, what would it be?
Well, we kind of spoke about it. Consistency, right? Stay as consistent for as long as you can and be patient. Patient is another key, right? And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to fail. That's another one, right? I think we all have that sort of, man, I don't want these people to think of me differently, or I don't want these people to have a bad opinion of what I'm doing, or and people are just scared of what other people think, right? And so we have an issue with putting things out there. For instance, like now, right? Putting out content. Some people just have just being held back from putting things out there because they're scared of what other people might say or might think about them. And when that certain thing is going to hold you back. You in that state of mind are holding yourself back. So again, I would probably say stay consistent for as long as you can, be patient, and don't be scared to fail.
Great advice. Very good advice. Do you have any morning rituals or mental exercises that you do? Because I know you're very structured. And do you typically start your day the same way every day?
Pretty much. Wake up in the morning as soon as the alarm goes off. Right. I don't necessarily make my bed right now because, I still got the lady sleeping in it, so I can't. Right. So again, I wake up right when the alarm goes off. I then go make my breakfast, make sure that that's all taken care of. I get everything that I need in terms of my supplements ready, and then I'm out the door at 5 o'clock in the morning to the gym. So that's my ritual now. I don't necessarily have any like mantras that I give myself at this point, but I know when I get deeper into my bodybuilding prep, I probably will have a couple certain things. I mean, I know you've heard my good morning MFers and all that type of
Yeah,
stuff. So
yeah.
probably have to bring those back because not only are those for my friends in the community that we've built, it's also for me. It also helps remind me of where I'm at and how I can continue to that I have to continue to move forward. But yeah.
Definitely. And I feel like that also inspires other people when
Right.
they feel your energy through your story.
Hmm.
It uplifts them. And
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, yeah, no, I forgot about that.
Don't worry, they're gonna come back. I'm 17 weeks out come this Saturday, so as I get closer, I'm gonna need those to keep me motivated. So.
Nice. Good. Glad to hear that. What is the strangest or most unexpected thing that helps you grow mentally? I know it's kind of vague, but something that you wouldn't think has helped you grow that has.
I wouldn't think that has helped me grow mentally, huh?
Maybe like an unexpected lesson.
I mean, nothing really comes to mind right now.
Okay, yeah.
Uh,
Take your
yeah,
We can come back to that if something.
yeah. Let's come back to that one.
Yeah, no worries at all. I have a fun question, kind of playing off the title of the movie, where if you had to give your life a theme song that played every morning. So every morning when you're on that treadmill, when you're about to start your story, good morning.
Yeah.
If there was a theme song to go with it, what do you think that would be?
Let's see. As of right now, I would probably say, what is it? It's called "Can't Tell It All." I believe it's got a bunch of artists on there. I've been listening to a lot more Christian rap lately, or Christian hip hop and stuff like that. So I'm taking a dive more into that kind of stuff. But "Can't Tell It All" is a really good song, and it's yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that would probably be my theme song as of right now.
I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It'll get you hype. It'll get you hype.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that one. I'm definitely gonna check that out though. How do you develop the mental toughness to push through discomfort and resistance?
Well, yeah. I mean, not, I wouldn't say like a rough upbringing, but we didn't have the most things, if I could say that. And then carrying on from there, going into the Marine Corps, we had to do a lot of tough things. Mental toughness, man, like you really had to be mentally tough when you're in the Marine Corps because it's not only about physical, it's not, you have to get control of your emotions. You really have to learn how to utilize your emotions in certain instances when you are absolutely exhausted. How am I going to keep moving forward, right? And one of the things that we like to do in the Marine Corps is test that. So they would put you in extreme conditions. I'm going to wear you out as much as you can, and then I'm going to make you fight not one, not two, but three people. How are you going to get through that? You know what I'm saying? So it has been forged with a lot of tough mental and emotional type of instances and situations like that. And I understand that if I can get through that, I can really get through anything. And I've utilized, again, like I said, in the military, there are a lot of good things. There's bad things too, but there's a lot of positive that you can take from it. And I believe that that's one of them, right? So to how to really stay mentally tough in certain situations to where you wouldn't think that you would be able to continue to move forward. Even if there is somebody in front of you and my only option is to go forward, what am I going to do? Even at the most exhausted point in my life, am I going to make that happen? And so that's probably where I built the majority of my mental toughness was in the Marine Corps.
I see. And honestly, I can't imagine anything else more testing than those situations.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
Would you sum that up by simply saying just refusing to quit?
Refusing to quit, absolutely. That is the biggest thing. Absolutely. Having that relentless mindset, resilient attitude, and refusing to quit 100%.
Not even acknowledging that as an option, in a sense.
It's not even there.
I like that. Got some stories. One of these days, I want to hear stories.
Yeah, for sure.
I've got another friend, good friend of mine. He was in the Marines, and I've known him since I was like 18. And recently, he was working with us a little bit, and he would tell me some stories. And it's amazing how fast, you know, the military, Marines, Army, whatever branch you're in, how fast it helps you grow because you're forced to rely on yourself, adapt, everything.
Yeah,
I feel like every young man should do military first and then from there, whatever they want to do.
absolutely. I think it would help out a lot. I mean, it takes a certain human because then there's certain people who, when they get out, they don't know how to turn it off. So that's the other side of things, right?
I see. And you know better than me, so then that makes sense. So maybe if they have a passion for it, maybe not
Yep.
everybody.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe not everybody, but I mean, if you're going to do it, having a mentor or something like that when you get out to kind of help transition you out and understand and kind of bring you back to reality, definitely can help hone those things that you learned while you were in and make them benefit you more than hurt you.
I see.
Because I mean, we tend to think that, well, we don't tend to think, but in terms of military veterans, what is it, 22 is the number? Every 22 seconds, a military veteran commits suicide. One of the things that or that's a very high statistic at that point, and that's one of the things that I want to bring light to. And so I know if you've heard of, like, okay, I do 22 push-ups every morning. I mean, or not myself, but there's a lot of people who do like the 22 for the 22,
I
and
didn't
that's
know that.
because of that. Yeah,
Ah, every 22 seconds, a veteran commits suicide.
yeah, that's what they say.
Man, does the U.S. have a lot of support, any programs or anything?
I mean, there really is. I mean, there are some support systems out there. I believe there's a new support system that just came out called the Battle Buddy system. And if you call them, they'll actually go, they have satellite or areas or offices all over the country. And if there is a friend or a, military veteran that is in your family or somebody that that you've served with, if you know that they're going through a tough time or, can't hardly make it like that, you can give them a call and they will drive out there and physically be with that person for as long as it takes.
Wow.
But there are, call systems that you can go on and, try to talk to people. But, let's be honest, they don't really do that. They're not going to call. It's usually the support to where if they're going to go out and see you,
That's
you know,
amazing. Good. And I'm
yeah,
glad that that's a start.
absolutely.
Definitely.
And then the other thing is if you know military veterans or you've served with somebody and that person gives you a call, pick up the phone and just talk to them. Just talk to them. You never know. I mean, I'm one of the stronger ones, you know what I'm saying? But I still have my things that I go through. However, I have the strength and the understanding that I am a father, I'm a leader, and I have my kids to look for. Not every military veteran has that to look for. And so they kind of rely on calling their buddies. You know what I'm saying? So anytime that I get a call from one of my buddies, I always answer the phone. I don't care what time it is.
I'm glad you said that. I'm going to keep that in mind for sure. I want to make sure I prioritize that. Getting into the fitness, diet, and sustainable health section. So
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, starting off with a funny question. I think you're gonna like this one since you have a lot of experience in the industry. What is your biggest gym pet peeve?
Well, there's a lot.
You
Uh,
can list as many as you like.
okay, number one, number one, I would probably say for you young lifters out there, get off your phone. Okay, get off your phone, please. Come to the gym to work out. This is a place to where, you get to kind of like push the outside world away from you and really focus on self-development. Please put the phone away. That's number one. Number two is when you go to grab weights from the rack in front of the mirror, okay, do not complete your set right at that location. Move. Just
Blocking the
just
whole
grab
thing.
yeah. Grab your weights, move away from the mirror, okay? 10 feet away from the mirror, complete your set there. Because you don't know when somebody's got done with their set and they have to place their weights, on the rack that you just picked up on the top, but theirs are on the bottom or whatever the case may be. And now they got to sit there and wait for you to do your rep. It's just consideration a little bit. And then, I'd say another one for the old guys is for I guess I'm one of the old guys now, but in the gym locker room, put all your clothes on,
Man,
you know? And just a little story from that and why I say that is because there was this one time I was in the gym. This old guy comes up and talking to me, just got out the shower, right? This is, I'm in 24-hour fitness over in San Diego. He gets over and he's like, "Oh man, you're pretty jacked. You getting ready for a competition?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm getting ready for a competition and stuff." He's still in his towel. Okay. And then he's like, he gets done talking to me, turns around, goes to his locker, but he's still trying to engage in conversation with me. Drops his towel, okay? Puts his shirt on first, okay? Okay, shirt.
shirt
Okay,
first.
still naked from the bottom. The second item of clothing that he goes and decides to put on, I don't know where his thought process is, but he goes for his socks. Who
No,
does that? Who does that? He put his shirt on and then his socks.
what the
Still
heck?
everything naked from the. Oh my God, dude! I was like, I gotta go.
His shirt was priority, and then he just
Yeah,
skipped
yeah, yeah,
over. Man,
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, for sure. I mean, I have many more, but it's. I will stick to those three.
that doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, the
Yeah,
last
yeah, yeah. The order of operation was a little off there. You know what I'm saying? I think he needs a system update in his dome or something like that.
man. That's funny. No, those are good ones. It's funny because I had a feeling you'd have at least three solid ones. Like, man, I can't. Mine is I can't stand when people just leave the weights on the machine and just walk away.
True. Yeah, yeah. Re-rack your weights. That's yeah, for sure.
Man, oh, that drives me crazy. It's like,
You can burn a little bit of extra calories. So, put your weights.
yeah, yeah, exactly. More additional workout. What inspired you to start your fitness journey? Was there a defining moment that changed everything, or were you always? Because I know you said everything came easy for you. Were you always active?
Yeah, yeah. I was always active. I always felt like I had, a God-given athleticism, right? So I was just very athletic. But what inspired my fitness journey? I don't necessarily think, well, again, so when I got injured, right? I always wanted to do bodybuilding. I always looked up to bodybuilders ever since a young age. And so when I was young, said that I changed my name to Arnold Schwarzenegger. My mom tells me this story. She's like, one day it was just like, she was like, "Dustin, come here." I was like, "My name's not Dustin, it's Arnold Schwarzenegger," right? So I really always looked up to kind of bodybuilders and wanted to be a bodybuilder. Always saw myself on that stage. And then again, when I got injured, I really didn't like what that doctor had to say. And from that injury, I wasn't able to be as athletic as I was before. So like running and like quick cuts and jumping was kind of like out of the question. I can still jump, I can still cut. I don't make the quickest cuts anymore on my right side. I can't jump as high as I used to. They used to call me the Flying Hawaiian back in high school
Man,
because I
Hawaii.
was just like just jamming and like, sophomore year, freshman year. Yeah, not anymore. So once that happened, I had to find another avenue for me to release that competitive nature, and I found the gym. So that's when I really took the gym seriously. I wasn't necessarily able to work out my squats like I used to because again, I had that injury. So I kept my legs up by doing leg extensions and leg curls. So I was able to do that type of motion, but everything else, I just really started working and really took it seriously in the gym. I started writing down my workouts. I started really just tailoring a workout for myself and getting down to the nitty gritty. Started really focusing on my nutrition because when I got done with my recovery, I was probably the heaviest that I've ever been at that point, which was like 240. Now I'm like 245 now, you know what I mean? But at that point, 240 was like big for me. I was only ever like 200 pounds. So
Nice.
210 pounds. So at the most. So that was a struggle for me. And so I had to really reel that in. How was I going to do that? Well, I started into my nutrition. I really dove into the nutrition of things and I started to work on myself and really start weighing things out. So I weighed out all my food. I got all that. I stayed intense in the gym. And then once I was able to come out of my walking boot and really try to focus on working out, that's when I started seeing the potential for me getting on stage and was working out with my good friend Jade Pino. Love you very much, brother. He started to do his competition. He was part owner of a gym, so he told me, "Hey, on your lunch break, just come over and we're gonna work out every day." So on my lunch break in Marine Corps, I went over there. We worked out every day together. We got him ready for his competition, and he won first place overall in men's physique. And then I was like, all right, I'm ready. I'm going to do a competition now. So then he was men's physique, I was classic. And so then we kept moving forward. But that was pretty much how it all began.
Man, so that inspired you, you kinda shifted, redirected your energy, started
Yeah.
focusing more on lifting, and then you saw your potential, and you're like, "I could do this."
Exactly. It's
Nice.
again kind of that aspect of getting into that dark place. How are you going to get out? Well, I accepted where I was. I understood that I would no longer be able to play sports at the caliber of which I was used to playing. How can I redirect this? What can I do? And so I took control of what I could. I went back to the basics and I understood that I don't necessarily have to run if I'm in the gym. I can just lift. I don't, there's not a team that's essentially going to depend on me. I can depend on myself. This is me against me, and I can do this. So I kept it up.
True, and that's very inspiring because you took it as far. I mean, of course, you can continue to progress like you are, but what I mean is, you took it to such heights because you're a professional bodybuilder.
Exactly.
I remember when you got your pro card, that was, knowing your story now, it's even more inspiring.
No, thank you very much.
Yeah, because that's not easy. I mean, the sport is so challenging, but then, you know, with the story of the injury and then, transitioning and then focusing on that, giving it 100% and getting your pro card, that's amazing.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Took a long time, but we got it done.
Yeah,
Eventually, I'm going to fulfill my dream and get onto that Olympia stage one of these days, hopefully,
I believe
God
it.
willing.
Oh, yeah, no, I believe it for sure, for sure. How has fitness shaped other areas of your life beyond just physical health?
Well, it gives you that strong mental mental side of things. And like you said, a bodybuilding prep is very straining. It's very hard discipline. There's a lot that's involved. It's 24/7. It doesn't stop. You learn a lot about yourself within that. And again, I've learned resilience the majority of my life and my relentless pursuit for greatness. I still don't feel like I've achieved that, but I'm doing my best to just follow in the path of the man upstairs, and I'll allow him to kind of guide me to where I want to go. But kind of coming back to it, it's allowed me to really take a step back and look at what I've been able to achieve, and look at the family that I've been able to bring up, my two girls, and really be appreciative of that and sit in the moment because that's one thing that we don't necessarily do all the time is sit in the moment. And with that being said, it's just it's taken a lot from me to just, I don't know, I guess be more than what I am, but I'm able to kind of center myself within fitness to then try to allow myself to give more to other people. And so now I'm utilizing what I've learned and how fitness has developed me as a person to try and help and develop other people as well, and try to share my story and my passion with coaching, and then be able to hopefully bring more people up there. More, I mean, just back to the question, it's pretty much just reinforcing the resilience that I've always had.
I see, and, that was an amazing answer, really. Like, these answers are just flowing, like, that was amazing.
I'm trying
I'm serious, man.
to.
And you're deep. You're very self-aware, deep person. I didn't know we never had a chance to talk though very much in the past.
Yeah, yeah, true.
No, you're a very deep person.
Thank you.
That's cool, man.
Thank you.
It's really cool.
I appreciate the opportunity to be on your podcast to share more of myself. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. No, I also wanted to the first 20 podcast episodes, I would love to re-interview, once this podcast has more traction. So down the road, when it's much bigger, I would love to have you on again. So just to keep that in mind.
Absolutely. I'd love to be on again for sure.
Awesome. Next question is a little more simple. It's coolest or favorite gym you've ever been to. So you traveled a lot. Was it in San Diego? Where was your favorite gym?
Oh man, I would probably have to bring it back to Yuma, Arizona. And that was when I was in the Marine Corps. So I was stationed in Yuma for the longest time. And there was a gym out there called Fourth Avenue Gym. Shout out to you, Justin, man. You've made an amazing gym, one that we can all appreciate. And he's expanded. He's got a couple locations, but that first location just had the most like that dungeness vibe to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the old school pieces, and it wasn't all just like you go into these crunches and they have all the hoist equipments or all the prime or all the whatever. He had all these different like old school pieces, that you wouldn't see anywhere else, right? So I would say that that was probably my favorite gym that I've ever been to. Coolest gym at this point. I'm gonna go ahead and give it to my boy Alvin, who we just had on our podcast the other day, and he owns Counterculture Gym up there in Pinellas Park. So if you're out here in Florida and you're near the Tampa, St. Pete area, go check out Counterculture Gym. They have that same sort of vibe. It's a private gym. They have curated pieces from every, like you want to talk about like collectors, right? And like people who collect shoes or people who collect cars or whatever. These guys collect pieces of gym equipment. And I'm talking about like the like highly sought after pieces that were used by like Dorian Yates and like the old school people. You go there, there is a vibe, there is an amazing environment. They have that dungeness kind of private gym feel, and every single piece in there is very high quality, old school pieces that they specifically sought after. They're amazing.
Man, I love that. It's counterculture gym. I'm gonna check that out.
It's a beautiful gym.
That Dungeness feel is something unique because you go to Crunch, you go to Amps, you go to EOS, and everything is cookie cutter,
Mm,
metal, the same.
yep.
But you go to those old school bodybuilding gyms, with a little bit of the rust on the plates.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep.
Gotta have a little bit of rust on some of those machines.
You got to hear that clink, 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 when you're freaking. And see, when it comes to those gyms, the environment that the people that it attracts are not these kids that are going to be sitting on the gym on their phones. No, these guys are here to work. Everybody knows what they're doing. And, we're all a great community and everybody's there with smiles on their faces or mean mugs because, ready for their next set. But everybody is nice. Everybody is welcoming. That's the kind of stuff that we like.
That's true. It is a different mentality for sure.
Mhm.
What is kind of playing back on the music question, but
Yep.
instead of life theme song or any of that, it's actually just favorite go-to song for your workout. Like one song that gets you hyped up in a workout.
Man, I don't know if I have one song right now specifically. You got what is it? KB. So KB has this song called Armies, and it's a great song. But like I said, man, I've gotten away from like the mainstream kind of music, and I don't like what they're talking about. I don't agree with a lot of the things that they're talking about anymore. So I've been listening to a lot more of Christian music, whether it's Christian hip hop. You got KB, you got Tadashi, there's Lecrae, Solvi. There's a whole lot of really great artists that have a great message. They're not only talking, they don't talk about drugs and freaking, hooking up or having the nicest car. It's a better message than that. And I think the things that we essentially digest, whether it be their social media or things that you listen to on on a consistent basis, all that takes an effect on you, whether it's emotionally or spiritually, right? And if I'm going to listen to something over and over again, I want it to be something more positive. And so, again, I've been listening to more Christian kind of music.
Man, no, I love that. It's because subconsciously everything does affect us.
Absolutely.
even frequency wise. And so
Absolutely.
I love that. No, I'm definitely gonna follow up with you to kind of get on that.
For sure. I'll shoot you a playlist.
I love that. No, for sure. For sure. Oh man. Ooh, I got a good question for you.
Send it.
What if you could ban one exercise in the gym, what would it be?
Ooh, okay. Oh man, any exercise with bad forms. But let's go with one of the exercises that I see a lot of these broccoli headed young kids wear.
Broccoli.
Do no offense to you broccoli heads, you know what I'm saying? I got curly hair too, but you know, maybe not as much as y'all. Anyway, you know those plate loaded hammer strength machines, right? Plate loaded hammer presses, right? But they want to sit here and they want to crank their body to the side and they want to grab this and they want to push this way. Like for some reason, like this is just the magic exercise that is going to develop their chest in a way that they hope and dream for. It's just not going to work, man. Just yeah, again, the same thing applies to, you know, again, when you're in that dark space. Just go back to the basics. Go back to the basics. Do some bench press, you know, do some dumbbell press, you know, and do it with strict form. If you do that, you're going to build way better chest than you would doing these little novelty exercises that don't necessarily work. So I would probably say that one, number one, and I'm sure that I see a bunch of them every day, but that's the only one I can think of right now.
Novelty exercises.
What about you? What was what's one of yours?
Man, well, first of all, I've got to say I'm guilty of bad form on a lot of things, and in front of me, I just get. I love lifting heavy, and so
Yeah.
I kind of I'll give some form for you know. But anyways, that's
But
another.
you use a little bit of momentum. That's fine, you know. But see, but I know the type of athlete you are. You're more of a different athlete. You utilize your movements of more of like a functional and momentum kind of base. You're not
Yeah,
necessarily trying to stay as structured as you can to build the biggest and largest muscle groups. You want to have the most functioning type
yes,
of muscle groups, essentially, right? So I mean, there's a difference in certain things like that. But yeah, I understand.
there is, and you're 100% right. That's I don't mind giving some form for some weight, but I get a lot of shit for it. I would say like I'm sure it has a place in bodybuilding,
Yeah,
but I don't like upright rows for in my personal preference. But I know it's great for bodybuilding for development, but I would say for like if someone's training to be like an obstacle course racer, something
yeah.
really functional, I would take that one out.
That's not a good movement. What would you replace it with? Kettlebell swings?
That's a good question, actually. I would say so. It's upright rows is more your rear delts, like
Rear delt trap. Yep.
I would say probably like a heavy farmer's carry or
Yeah. Okay. There we go.
single arm dumbbell row, something like
Hmm.
that.
That's more functional. Absolutely. I like that.
Good, good. Oh, yes. Have you ever had an embarrassing gym moment?
Yeah. This is probably all right. I honestly I wish I would have got the security footage for this one. So I was when I was a trainer over at 24 Hour Fitness Bonita over in San Diego, right? I was training with this dude. He's an OG black guy, right? This man, he had the afro, always wore like a wife beater, and then literally every piece of jewelry he's ever owned. You know what I mean? Like just gold on all his stuff, like five, six gold chains. Loved him. He was just a character and a pleasure to kind of have and as a client. He was so fun to work with. But one of the first times that I was showing him these, so like in order he was having issues with like his back, mid back, right? And so I was going to show him how to do A's, Y's, and T's, banded A's, Y's, and T's, right? So A's are coming down here, T's were coming out, and then Y's were coming up, right? So I demonstrated the A's, demonstrated the Y's, or excuse me, demonstrated the A's, demonstrated the T's. Now I went to go demonstrate the Y's. Well, I placed the band on an anchor point that I didn't know moved. Okay.
No.
Okay. Yeah. So I go one. I'm like, all right, so you're going to do this. All right. You're going to go ahead. We're going to go ahead and come all the way up, get a nice contraction there, and come back down. Right. The second time I did that, boom, the little piece moved and the band right in my face. This man goes, oh my God, no, I ain't doing that. Literally straight into my face.
He said, "Oh hell no, I'm not."
He was like, "Oh no!" That shit was, oh my God, that was probably one of the funniest, most embarrassing moments. But it is what it is. I mean, I couldn't change it. It is. You just got to laugh about it, right? But I honestly wish I would have got the security footage for that for sure.
Yeah, that's funny. That dude is avoiding that machine, that movement.
I ain't doing that. I was like, I promise, you know what I mean? We're gonna put it on an anchor point that it's not gonna do this to you. Okay, look, this one doesn't move. You know what I mean? I had to show him this one doesn't move, right? It ain't gonna.
No trust issues after that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I
man,
had trust issues with myself.
that's
Oh man,
oh, that had to hurt too.
I stung for sure.
When you first got into your fitness journey, what was the biggest challenge when starting? Was that the injury that you had, or was it not knowing what direction to go?
Yeah, that was probably it. Just really trying to recover from that and keep moving forward, and then lose that weight that I originally gained. But yeah, it was in that moment and during that situation for sure. Probably the biggest challenge. I don't know. I would say another challenge aside from that would be having having our daughter right in the middle of prep. So, yeah, Kiana, right in the middle of my prep. That was a big challenge, and having to be supportive for Marie. I don't. I mean, bodybuilding is a little selfish sometimes, so I kind of have to realize that I might not have been the most supportive at some times during that while she was pregnant. So I got to take that on myself. I apologize as much as I can and try to make it up to her, but that was a big challenge for sure. She's a great mom, and she was able to take a lot of the stress away by being the best mom that she could. And I tried to be the best dad, but there's a lot of stress in trying to bodybuild and achieve that pro card. So
Oh yeah, no, I can only imagine
yeah,
with a newborn, around,
yeah, man,
trying to sleep,
yeah,
trying to eat, trying to.
dude. But I was, like she did everything that she could. But I swear, anytime that baby cried during the night, I was up, boom, got her changed, did everything that I had to do. Like after I changed the baby and made sure that she was good, rocked her a little bit, I'd bring her into the mom so that she can breastfeed because I knew that's what she wanted next. But I was always up. I'd get the baby and I'd do everything and then come bring it to her. So it was stressful, you know.
Sounds like you did a great job though, and
Just
definitely blessed
yeah, absolutely. I can agree with that.
for sure. How do you personally integrate fitness into your busy lifestyle? You get your workout in early?
Yeah, so like I said, I'm up early. Lately, it's been 4:30 in the mornings when I wake up. 5 o'clock's when I'm in the gym. Usually out of the gym by 7 at the latest, because I usually have clients now, or I was working right at 8 o'clock in the morning. So yep. So now I'm back to work, or excuse me, training full time. So I'm again same time, get my workout in. I'm done at 7, and then I have my first client at 8.
Nice, nice, very efficient.
It
And
helps out a
also,
lot.
I don't want to keep too much of your time either, so I'll make sure. What time is bedtime normally?
Well, we got to get these babies to sleep here pretty soon, probably in the next 15 minutes. So you got some
Perfect.
time.
Got you. Actually, that's right on schedule too. They're 5, 6 minutes.
Too easy, man. I'm not worried.
For the diet section,
Yeah.
do you have any specific diet? Of course, you're tracking your macros, micros right now for prep.
Yeah. Mhm. So, Matt and I, we don't necessarily track our macros, right? So I know essentially what I'm eating. I could go ahead and put it in the MyFitnessPal. If I had to make a guesstimate on what my macros are at this point, I would probably say I eat at least 300 grams of protein. I eat at least at this point, again, I'm 17 weeks out come this Saturday, probably around the same amount, if not a little bit more, 300 to 350 grams of carbs, if not more. I would say probably anywhere from 300 to 500 grams of carbs total, and then fats probably around 60 to 100. But I don't necessarily track that. Essentially, what we like to do, we go based on whole food meals, whole food nutrition, and then what we do is we go by the look of the body, right? So I like to essentially know what I'm eating, how much of it I'm eating. So I weigh everything out, but then we go and understand the metabolism, right? So I want to make sure that my metabolism is running. As long as my metabolism's flowing, I know that, there's weight coming off. We check our metric in terms of the scale, right? We utilize that to track essential trends, and then we go by the look. So if how I'm, and as well as how I'm feeling, right? Where's my hunger at? How hungry do I get between meals, and how fast does that hunger come, right? So that's we really want to manipulate the metabolism and understand where that's at. With that, we can dial back the food. There's usually an amount of protein that we like to go for to kind of make sure that we're maintaining some sort of muscle, right? And keep that muscle protein synthesis going. And then when we have our carbs, we like to go on a carb cycle, right? So we're going to have our low days, we're going to have medium, we're going to have high days. And so we utilize that to really ramp up and manipulate the metabolism in a way that will continue to keep it cranking so that we're moving those calories.
I see. That sounds
But
like a
yeah,
great approach because then it's very individualized and it's not just
exactly.
sticking with numbers and I see.
In terms of the coach, like giving macros is simple, easy for the coach, harder on the athlete, right? Because there's more options for the athlete. If I say I want you to eat this amount of a protein, right, or a protein source, here are your recommended protein sources. I want you to eat this amount of a carb source, recommended carb sources. I want you to eat this amount of a fats. Here's your recommended fats. This amount of veggies, recommended veggies. If I give you that, you're going to have options within that. And then as you get closer to your competitions, those options tend to fade and you're only stuck with a certain amount of food, right? I can be specific with what I want you to eat, but then again, we're really going to look at how it affects the body,
I see.
what, how it affects your digestion. You really have to understand all these things.
That's smart because everyone is so different. Like
Absolutely.
genetically, there's so many variations. There's so many. I had a client who's a gastroenterologist, and I remember she would tell me that everyone is so different that like olive oil could be really, someone could really good for one person, and then one other person might not tolerate it as well.
Yep.
That's so
Yep.
fascinating. So that's a great approach.
Absolutely. You get a whole lot of inflammation from, you never really know. I mean, it could be olive oil that's doing it to you, but then you do avocado oil and you're fine. It's weird.
Interesting. What are you currently? I know you're talking about you're 17 weeks out, so you're currently training for your next competition. And which one is that? What are you currently training for?
So I'm going to do the St. Pete Pro on June 28th.
Nice.
Yeah, over there in St. Pete. Yes, sir.
Good, good. So moving into our last few questions. What are some non-negotiable habits that help you stay productive and focused? Like habits that you do not, you know,
Yeah, don't waver from. Got you. Definitely going to the gym. I got to go to the gym. And especially as I get closer to competition now. Like at this point, I can take an off day and I can really take an off day and I'll be okay with that. But I like to be some sort of active. So if that off day includes me taking the girls out and we're going for a walk or something like that, I gotta do something to where I'm moving around. So whether that be go to the gym 100%, like I love going to the gym, or just doing something active throughout the day on my rest days, I guess you should say. Other than that, putting my girls to sleep. I always got to put my girls to sleep, Like Marie tries to put our baby, or the youngest, Kiana, down. And if she does that, she goes, "No, daddy sleep. Daddy sleep." So I come over here, I read them a book. We do our Lord's Prayer, and then I put her down, and then I'll go in there and I'll do the same for Naomi. I'll read her a book, and then I'll do the Lord's Prayer. So then those are non-negotiable for me. So one, gym, and then two, being the last thing that my daughters get to see before going to bed.
that's amazing, man. That really is amazing. Seriously. Last question. Last two questions. What is the legacy you want to leave behind? Would you say?
The older that I get, the more that I want to help people, and the more information that I'm more willing to just pass around. I mean, there's a lot of times where, as you're coming up in the sport or in anything in general, you tend to kind of like hide your secrets or withhold a lot of those things. What do we call those? Gatekeepers, right? We call them.
Yeah.
Yeah, people who just gatekeeping like the knowledge, right? So I feel like it's very important to spread that knowledge as much as I can. So the legacy that I essentially want to leave is one of giving. I want to be able to give back as much as I've been able to receive, if not more. And I realize that now, in my older age. Other than that, like in giving in terms of like I will give you the shirt off my back. I want to help as many people as I can. I see people on the street and I know that, they might have a sign up and they're they might be begging or whatnot. I don't know what exactly their situation is, but I always want to help. And so I try to, one, maybe I might hand them a dollar, but as I hand them a dollar, I'm like, "How's your relationship with God?" You know what I mean? So I try to continue to pass on some knowledge, even if they don't want to hear it. But yeah, one, giving. I want to pass on the legacy of being a loving father, and yeah, giving my girls what I didn't have growing up because I didn't have a father. Yeah.
Man, all of your answers very, very inspiring. Seriously. Man,
Thank
I'm
you.
serious. Great answers. To you, it might just seem, like you're just being true to yourself. You're just sharing insight.
Yeah.
But for many other people, it is very inspiring. I know it makes me want to aspire to be like you in so many ways. So seriously, thank you.
Oh, stop.
I'm serious. Yeah. Last thing is, where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, so social media, man. So at this is sharp. The is IZ. So this IZ sharp on Instagram. I'm on what else? I mean, I am on TikTok, but I'm never really on there. I mean, I guess I should probably be more on there. I'm on Facebook, Dustin William Sharp Nahale. Or you can find me at Patriot Fitness. If you're local here, come by, check me out. I'm always willing to help people out. Not only is personal training like a way to get you in shape, but it's also a therapy session, a therapy session, right? You don't know how many stories that I hear. I got big shoulders, you know what I'm saying? Come on, you can lean on me, it's fine. But yeah, those are the places you can find me for sure. Or, when I work out, I'm at AMP, any one of the locations here in Sarasota at 5 in the morning. But don't be taking my gym equipment, please. And don't work out in front of a mirror.
Not none of those pet peeves. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's funny, man. Well, thank you so much for joining. Really, I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for having me, man. I look forward to, when this podcast becomes bigger and you're able to have me on again. But I greatly appreciate you giving me an opportunity to share a little bit more about myself here on your podcast. Thank you.